Hello everyone, welcome to the first session of Book Club. I know that you guys are a little bit curious and a little bit interested and a little bit just not wanting to take a look at the lectures. I try to make this lecture easy and effective for you guys in the sense that first I will try to go over the most important parts of the story. So we're going to do a little bit of a summary and then we're going to do more of the analysis and think about all of the symbols and literary analysis and device that you will most likely need when you actually write the essay. So my book club sessions are going to consist of the first introduction, which will give you a quick synopsis of the entire book, and a run-through of the major characters and themes. And the next one, we're going to go into detail in 3 parts. The first book we're doing is Fahrenheit 451. That's 3 parts, so we're going to go in 3 parts. And I'm going to cover the important comprehension questions and some of the literary devices like similes or metaphors or irony, things like that. Things you need to know in order to write a good, effective essay. And most importantly, the theme. Now, before we start the book, I always ask my students, when you read a book, it's important to understand the theme, because basically, all the other stuff is kind of like the beautified decorations for the book's theme. And what I mean by that is the author wrote the book for a particular purpose, right? And there's a reason, and there's a lesson, and there's an idea that the author wants you to know. So the theme is very important, because if you miss the theme, then everything else just is just kind of, well, I wouldn't say useless, but it will be less effective than if you knew the theme and try to apply those facts that you know to the actual theme. And if you understand what the theme is, you'll be able to very easily link the different events of the book and see why it took place then. So like I said, the first book we're going to do is called Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Okay, and here we go. Let's go over the synopsis of the book first. Okay, so the quick overview. We have the setting in the future time, right? And we have a very oppressive government. And we know this because the government employs firemen to burn all of the books. And apparently reading and things like walking, you know, taking a stroll around the park, things like that, it is illegal, okay? Rather than that, they actually provide citizens with 4-walled televisions to keep them happy. Obviously, this is like immediate gratification, right? We're not looking for anything that's too tiresome. We're not looking for anything that's overly active, you know, needing something with a lot of energy. And the flaw is, though, despite the fact that the government tries to keep everything so perfect, we're going to see that people still commit suicide, meaning somebody or some people, even among this wonderful controlled society, you know, people aren't happy. Okay, continuing on, we have the main character, the good guy, Guy Montag, okay? And Guy, he's happily married. Well, he thinks he's happily married, and his job is a fireman, and he burns books. Now, obviously, this is not the modern world, right? This is a time when it's like the 24th century, not the 21st, the 4th, okay? He meets a girl named Clarice. She's a 17-year-old, but obviously mature enough, asks him these questions, and he starts to realize things he never knew. For instance, he starts to read books which causes him to rebel against his life, wife, and occupation. So here what we find is, with the meeting of this young, well, not young, kind of young, maybe around your age, this character, she's going to become that catalyst to help the main character look for his true identity and to find out about himself and his identity. Okay, continuing on. Montague and the professor plant books in other firemen's homes and burn them down. So it's just a ploy, a strategy to, you know, get rid of the firemen, right? His wife reports him in and, you know, kind of betrays her own husband. So we're going to kind of question, is this a healthy relationship? Are they really happy being married? You know, things like that. And eventually, while he's trying to, you know, kind of burn down his house, he ends up killing his captain, who is the antagonist. And he ends up being, the main character ends up being a murderer. And Montague escapes from the lethal hunt of the hound. As we're going to learn later, this hound is not a real dog. Well, he's real, but he's not. So this is another thing that I'm going to talk to you about later. But it's a mechanical hound. And the hound is a killing machine, right? Travels to the countryside where he meets a growing number of people who want to go against this oppressive government, right? And they hope to restore a rational society. So they're going to try to make everything better at the end. Obviously not a happy ending, but definitely something we need to think about. Okay, now let me tell you a little bit about the author. I'm sure you're curious about who wrote the book. I believe that it's very important for you to understand who the author is, and in which era, or what ideas this author wanted to portray. Because a lot of times this definitely has an effect on the time that he wrote the book, he or she wrote the book, and the message that the book particularly contains. Ray Bradbury was born on August 22nd, 1920. I don't know if anybody has that birthday. My mom's birthday is about 5 days before that. Not 1920 though. Okay. And an American mainstream fantasy, horror, science fiction, mystery writer, but he's mostly known for his science fiction. Fahrenheit 451 is one of his most famous, and The Martian Chronicles another. He was considered one of the greatest and most popular American writers of the speculative, you know, fiction, of the 20th century. So what we're going to understand about the author was that he wrote short stories, he wrote plays, he wrote poetry and children's books, but he was most famous for his science fiction novels. And yes, it was quite effective in the society and influential, I was going to say, not effective. Okay. Some important or interesting things you want to know about the author. He was born in Illinois, right? And moved to Los Angeles, my hometown, when he was a teenager. Graduated from high school. He never went any further than that, so he didn't study. Well, he didn't study formally after that. And he took on odd jobs, you know, to kind of support his writing and, you know, experiment. Things like that. He was very successful though. In his books and in his writings, he actually predicted that man's conquest of the moon was going to happen and things like that. Now, he was born in the 1920s. He's a very, very old grandpa now, right? But what we know is that he had this kind of futuristic mindset, I think, because it did happen after a while.